Let's talk about Jen Psaki. I know you guys like it when I talk Psaki. When we do clips about Psaki, they go bananas because people cannot believe this woman. This woman lies and lies and lies and lies and lies. She knows she's lying. We know she's lying. She knows we know she's lying, and she continues to lie. That's what liars do, and we're surrounded by a lot of them these days. Well, now she's sort of already laying the groundwork for the federal government, the Biden administration, to endorse states doing more lockdowns. And I guarantee you it's coming, guys. Quote me on this. On July 7th, 2021, Dave Rubin says more lockdowns are coming. Of course they're coming, because the last year and a half was a test. How quickly would we all fold? And basically we folded quicker than a wet paper bag. We just all went down, and you know, we all have blame on us, right? If trying to figure out who to blame, just look in a mirror, and I would include myself in that. We should have fought harder from day one. You know, we all did the 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing, and then they just ran with it and ran with it. And on the top of the fact that we now know that lockdowns just didn't work. They worked to destroy the economy and wreck lives and cause depression and alcoholism and a whole bunch of other problems, but they did nothing, in effect, to stop COVID. Well, here's Psaki talking about how Biden would certainly support states locking down once again.
If the number of cases continues to trend upward, are there any circumstances under which the White House would reimpose some of those restrictions as cases tick up, or would that be up to the states?
Well, states are going to have to make evaluations, and local communities are going to have to make evaluations about what's in their interests. And as you know, there are much higher rates of vaccinations in some parts of the country over others, and we certainly support their decisions to implement any measures that they think will help their community safe.
Okay, so on one hand, I'll try to give credit where it's due. The answer there, basically the last sentence that she says there, where she's going to say, we're going to let the communities do their thing. You guys know I'm a states' rights guy, right? Like, so I want local communities, I want states to make decisions for themselves. So a guy like DeSantis can do the right thing in Florida, and a guy like Newsom can do the wrong thing in California. To me, that's a better option than saying that the federal government should tell everybody what to do. So I will give her credit there on that, but that's not really what's going on here. And I would also argue that the question, I don't know who it was that asked the question, but it seems like a very leading, almost like a planted question to lay the groundwork for future lockdowns. Like, nobody's talking about lockdowns right now. Is anyone in your world, anyone that you know, that you're married to, that you live with, that you hang out with, that you had dinner with, that you go bowling with, is anyone being like, oh, we're going to need more lockdowns? Or is there anyone out there really that, even the people that are triple masking still and they've had 18 shots and everything else, going, oh, if it gets worse, we're going to need lockdowns again? So the idea that someone at a press conference is sort of tipping to them like, is there any way that you'd kind of support lockdowns in the future? Like, is that something you do? It just seems like a very odd question to ask. But anyway, I'll give Psaki credit on the second half of it, which is, you know, you leave it to the local communities. The bigger issue, though, is that we know lockdowns don't work. So why say that? Like, you could say, yes, if there was evidence that lockdowns work, we would leave it to the states because we don't want to use the power of the government, the federal government, to do everything for everyone at all times. And as I've been saying for a year and a half, if you live in rural Montana, the regulations and the way that COVID might spread is going to be very different than it would be, say, in metropolitan New York City. But there's no evidence that they work. So why would we ever tolerate this? And that's why so much of this had very little to do with a virus with over a 99% recovery rate, and a virus that basically everyone who died had a comorbidity and had either cancer or heart disease or diabetes, and that's not to diminish any of the people that died. And we all know people that had COVID, and I know actually many people in my family had COVID and everyone survived, and I have many friends that had COVID and everyone survived. I'm not even sure about my own antibody test, but I was sick a few weeks ago. Maybe I had COVID. I don't know. Here we are. I'm okay. Life goes on. But the idea that we would ever, that any of us, regardless of whether you live in Florida or New York or anywhere else, that we would ever give the power back to these authoritarian lunatics to keep us out of work, to keep us away from our family, to stop us from going to funerals. I mean, the litany of horrible things that they did while Gavin Newsom spent $20K on a bar bill at French Laundry, and while Gretchen Whitmer, who told people she didn't want them to be gardening outdoors in their own house in Michigan while she was getting on a yacht. And Lori Lightfoot was out there protesting in Chicago without a mask while locking down her state, and I could go on. And Andrew Cuomo sending the old people back into the old age homes where they all died. And what's happened with that? Is he going to jail? Like, what's going on here? The point is, it's not whether the states should have the power or the federal government should have the power. I think you know what I feel about that. The point is, this shit does not work. Not only does it not work, we know that once you give these people the power to shut down businesses, to say you have to be at home by 10 o'clock because COVID doesn't spread from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., or the rest of the nonsense, they will gladly keep taking the power. So as I said before, we all kind of failed the test. And if we don't want to fail the second test will be, hey, if we do it to you all over again, deja vu all over again, are you guys all going to fold and bow immediately?